It's January 5th, 2021. Thank you for checking out the Mel K Show. I'm Mel, coming to you live from Manhattan with my partner, Rob Reilly. How's it going, Rob?
It's going great today, Mel. I'm excited about seeing our guy back on stage yesterday and for tomorrow's activities. How
All
about
right,
you?
yeah,
How are you feeling?
that was quite a rally in Georgia. I was happy to see him again. He seems a little he seems a little like he's busy. It wasn't as much of a show as it was a I thought it was just nice for him to touch base after all this time and watching what's going on. And I enjoyed the rally. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too. So the rally, I think, he was calling out a few people. He was kind of I think trying to put some pressure on them as well as talking about Georgia, so he wanted to push that. And I think it's good for people to see him,
Yeah,
out and strong. So yeah, it
right.
was good.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Anything happening in the New York apocalypse?
Oh, always, always. Yeah.
I
So,
know.
they're the vax crazy here in New York. We see, every night people lined up around the corner to
Well,
get
that's for
their.
tests,
I
not even
know, but you
vaccines.
you know how they drive that, right? But
Right.
Cuomo was very critical of Trump and his zero plan. He said, he's got no plan for the vaccine rollout and Project Warp
Right.
Speed, and we're going to do everything, New York style. So
Right.
New York style is that they have
No plan.
they have no plan at all, and it's a total failure. So currently they've given out about a third of the vaccines that they had expected to. They're now threatening hospitals and other places that deliver the vaccine with fines and cutting off their supply if they don't step it up.
After they
You know,
just went through the COVID, now it's the hospital's fault.
it's the hospital. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's never his fault.
No, never. And he's not just saying that he's going to find them. He's also saying he's going to hold the vaccines back
Right,
from hospitals that don't speed it up. His wording.
right.
What is this about then? It's not about people. If he's well, let alone I heard where he's sending the vaccines before even the elderly, right?
Yeah, so he's prioritizing state jails, prisons, and rehab centers, above many things, including elderly facilities. So,
And
you know,
vulnerable populations, they're going to come. Rikers Island is coming first, even though de Blasio's basically let all the criminals out onto the streets. But whoever's left there is going to get the vaccine before the elderly are getting it
yeah,
in New
thank
York.
God. So when they come out and riot, they'll be fully covered.
Oh,
So,
great.
yeah. And on some other fun news, Uh, you know, I guess Cuomo's a big fan of his Buffalo Bills, which is an upstate New York football team, and he's been pushing to have them play their game, and he set it up so there would be like 10% of the stadium full with all, and everyone has to get tested, and but anyway, there's currently 25,000 people that have signed up on change.org to Bills fans that don't want to see him there. So last week, as you said, it was
The
the
restaurants don't
right.
want him now.
Right.
Now the Bills fans don't want him at the game.
Yeah, we've been
Can you
told that.
believe that though? How he rigged this so that he could watch the Buffalo Bills, his team, like you said, it reminds me of how De Blasio shut down Times Square and went and did a big prom dance with his wife, rubbing it in our faces.
Yeah, well,
You
this
know,
is typically Marxist behavior, and then we've been told that they would not be able to walk the streets when this
yeah,
is all said and done.
getting
So I'm
there.
I'm looking forward to that. It also, is funny that when he was giving his talks about what people should do to entertain themselves, they said you can't travel, but you should ski in New York because we have the
I
best skiing,
remember.
and you'll never
Yeah.
have a problem. And so Hunter Mountain, which is a popular upstate those ski place, is now closed for COVID. And we know how accurate those COVID tests are.
Right. Well, I told you today that the FDA has now joined the other three, Fauci, the WHO, and the CDC, in saying that the PCR tests give false positive results en masse, as it was said, as we knew about 3, 4, 5 months ago. But now finally, all four agencies that have been running this scamdemic admit that the PCR test gives notable risk for false positives. It can be manipulated, and that it's basically we're at a point where we're at a case demic of non-cases. And, this is what Cuomo and all of them are using now. They don't talk about deaths anymore. What they're only talking about is cases, cases, cases. Well, the cases are on a very high scale false positive. We also talked last week, the guy who invented the PCR test, so that this is not meant to diagnose. And then there's the whole threshold where they're giving out different numbers of how many times they should run the cycle. And at this point, we are dealing with a strictly straight up case demic of asymptomatic, probably not cases at all. And the experts are saying that up to 90% of the people who tested did not carry the virus, even though they're saying that they have the virus. So basically, if you're being tested in New York, you're going to get most likely a positive result. But in the meantime, they're saying that 90% of the people getting these false positives aren't even carrying the virus. It's picking up something else. And the process is not reliable, it says. And the creator said for SARS-CoV-2, which is what this is, because they haven't isolated the COVID, and COVID actually is SARS-CoV-2 ID. COV is just the name ID, COVID, which goes along with the UN's plan for to ID us all, the ID 2020. But now we're at a place where they're giving all different names and all different people that are saying that this is straight up a case demic, and that people aren't walking around sick with that. There's no asymptomatic illness, and you certainly can't pass on an asymptomatic case of this. And also that it basically says that they're admitting that the case really doesn't indicate anything definitely, that all it does is find the RNA. Any RNA was on the nasal swab, and they're calling it COVID. So they're not keeping us locked down because of deaths, and apparently they're not keeping us locked down because of the virus. They're keeping us locked down because that's the choice they're making to head towards their global reset. If this isn't about actual cases, this is about a case demic.
Well, they're under a lot of pressure because they really need the U.S. for the reset,
Right.
and they're losing Great Britain.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't know how connected this is. Maybe you guys do out there, but I saw something interesting about because we've talked before about the City of London, DC, and the Vatican City being basically, they're just the arms of the one world order, and the City of London is really the bank of the royals. Well, turns out that the City of London, the bank that has been running the world basically all this time, the most dominant financial center, also, it's the Rothschild Bank, that one of their main hubs is the City of London Bank. Basically, this Brexit is going to change the entire landscape of finance and business in the entire European Union that's remaining. And a lot of the European Union are not going to be doing business with the City of London / the royal banking apparatus. So on January 1st, the first day of after Brexit, basically a lot of EU investors were not trading anymore inside the old dynamic. And it turns out that the rest of the world isn't going to be going through the Bank of London anymore, City of London, the bank. So on the exchanges, it has said that London is losing 45% of its volume of stock that would have gone through the City of London. And that's about 6.3 billion euros, 7.7 billion in cash of shares that would have traded on the London-based platform. And now it's going to be trading elsewhere, it looks like through Amsterdam and some other country platforms. But the EU, as we know, is basically the One World Order UN creation of their nation state plan. So who knows what's going to happen with that? But I am thinking that this is all connected to the financial reset that we're going to see, not the Great Reset that the UN wants or their entire plan. I'm talking about the transfer back to gold backed currency and the quantum financial system. So this is good news in terms of long term. In the short term, it's probably going to be much like America. We're going to have some kind of financial reset here that's already in the works behind the scenes. And I'm assuming that London is already working with us on that, as many other countries are. And the EU is still going about their plans for the One World Order and with the UN and the World Economic Forum. So looks like the two sides are definitely separating, and some big banks are going to lose big time. And mainly that's the central banking Rothschild Bank cabal. So,
They're probably putting a lot of, well, we know they're putting a lot of pressure on the UK. They're in a full level 5 lockdown. I'm not surprised that, a lot of trading is it's electronic, and it's these like exchange traded funds, and so they can move money around however they want. So
right,
I would imagine that they would try to kind of scare people by saying, well, you're going to lose all this business, you're going to lose all this trading, and all
right,
of that. But a lot of that is garbage anyway,
here,
because what they're
right,
doing is, you have to understand, is what these central bankers and these trading operations do is they sit in the middle and they collect a fee for
right,
all this activity. So
right,
to the extent that London is becoming more patriotic, and they're more nationalistic, i.e., isolating themselves from kind of the overlords that want
right.
to take them over, then I see that as a good thing. And there may be some pain with that, but it's certainly worth it.
Right, I agree. And the one reason that I think this has something to do with the quantum financial reset that I've been expecting, and I talk about with Dr. Charlie Ward a lot, is apparently people were surprised at how smooth the transition was. It was seamless. They said going into the final stages of Brexit negotiations at the end of the year, regulators were, optimistic and all that, but that actually when it actually went through and it happened, trading just kind of seamlessly continued. So that leads me to believe that this is a bigger part of the entire financial reset that hopefully will end the central banking cabal and the Fed and the debt slavery they've had us all under, and have a more transparent and open financial system that doesn't penalize the poor and reward just the 0.001 international banking cabal.
Yeah. Also on January 1st, I think the Trump's executive order on insurance transparency may
Right.
have gone effective. And you had mentioned some news that I thought might very likely be connected to that,
Oh, right,
the
right.
Haven Health.
Right. Oh God, guys, did we dodge a bullet again? Ugh, how much power can this good club of billionaires take of ours? How much of our data can they do? Well, good news. Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and J.P. Morgan had gone kind of under the radar into a venture to disrupt healthcare, as if they haven't disrupted everything else already. So basically, they started this joint venture called Haven. It was supposed to be these three of the most powerful companies. Obviously, Amazon would be the distributor. They wanted to intervene into the healthcare system, lower cost, improve outcomes in healthcare. But good news is it's disbanding. It did not work. It did not work. But Jeff Bezos will not be controlling our healthcare or our drugs, thank God. So basically, the company began informing employees this week that they'll be shutting down end of next month. They're out of Boston, and they're going to be putting their workers at their three businesses: Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and J.P. Morgan Chase. That would be the Rothschild banking cabal. That would be the Good Club, Bezos, and Buffett. So, and I'm sure Bill Gates has his hands in there somewhere. So anyway, the three companies were supposed to collaborate, and it wasn't working out. And the three CEOs had announced this, so they were so proud they were going to take over healthcare in America. But hopefully, this has something to do with Trump's attempts to dismantle big pharma, that we know is nothing but a cash cow, money making chemical industry. And people were very scared about this in the medical community. People were not happy that these private billionaire companies that are all about business were going to try to circumvent the healthcare industry. So I think this is good news. And basically they were just going to be middlemen anyway, like they do with everything else. So hopefully that has something to do with some of Donald Trump's moves about transparency in healthcare
Well, if you
and
take
health costs.
if you add, if you execute on that transparency, you're going to have a lot less profit that they can
Right.
hide. So
Right.
maybe
So
they
why do it?
so
That's all they
maybe they
care
looked
about.
at it and said, but I don't know that. But I mean, that would make
Makes
logical
sense.
sense to me.
Right. Right.
Also, his executive order that he was trying to delist, we're switching topics here a little bit, but he was delisting the Chinese telecom companies. I guess the New York Stock Exchange is pushing back on that a little bit. Um, they said they weren't going to follow that, and then you said you saw something that they might. So that's still up in the
Yeah.
air. I don't understand how they could, not follow an executive order as it relates
Well,
to funding Chinese military, you know,
I don't
and
know.
data collection. But
Well, yeah, but it's just getting bigger and bigger every day. The layers are coming off the old onion, and New York Times has been very bizarre. They are completely corrupted, I believe, by the CCP in China, which is goes hand in hand with the UN One World Order, World Economic Forum plans for a one world governance, basically led by China at this point, which people aren't putting together the UN in China as much as they should be. But basically, the New York Times came out and did a whole thing praising China, communist society, and the freedom that Americans should envy. I mean, what is with them? The New York Times is completely out of control. It's so dangerous. This stupid paper.
I mean,
It's incredibly sad.
so much of the media is so controlled. You were mentioning Forbes and
Yeah.
how
Yeah, I read
ugly.
that about Forbes is apparently really in bed with China, CCP. It's this same group, this China United States Exchange Foundation, and there's CCP operatives that come over here and they get involved with not just big business, big education, big tech, big media, and colleges and universities, and they infiltrate on behalf of the Communist Party of China. And this CUSEF is the one that keeps coming up. And the guy who started it, Tung Chi Ha, he was the vice president of Chinese People's Political Consultation Conference, which is where all the media is getting snagged. And on this new paperwork, basically, they are the United Work Front, and their goal is to use a range of methods to influence overseas Chinese communities, foreign governments, and other actors to take actions and adopt positions supportive of Beijing's policies and goals. So now it turns out Forbes has been very in front on pushing what I consider mainly fake news, but obviously very highly paid I don't know, advertisements or whatever, advocating for vaccines, GMOs, crop chemicals, artificial water fluoride, fluoridization, and other kinds of chemicals that are horrible for humanity. They've pushed a lot of Monsanto products, lots of Monsanto ads, which connects to Bill Gates, obviously, and China. And Forbes has been, along with the Rothschild-owned economists, has been attacking Donald Trump the whole time as well, that he's been in office, accusing him of being anti-science because he even dared question about the vaccine's connection to autism. And the medical establishment continues to claim the vaccines have nothing to do with autism, but because Trump asked it, they wrote a whole hit piece on him being anti-science. And at this point, Forbes is aggressively pushing a lot of information that is clearly coming straight out of China and the World Health Organization. And they don't seem to have any pushback whatsoever. But according to CCP's influence, they hired this biotechnology industry guy, John Entine, and he set up something called the American Council on Science and Health. But apparently, it's a front group for the chemical industry, financed by the CCP, they say, and that it's just the tip of the iceberg. So now we have Forbes is openly colluding, giving false information to the American people, quite likely, and propaganda to push their goals, which include depopulation and vaccinating everyone, and also mass surveillance through these vaccines. So the truth is, the CUSEF is not a nonprofit organization as they present themselves. And what they do is they infiltrate and then they take people to dinners and all that. Well, they're a registered foreign agent bankrolled by the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party, and to basically influence overseas operations towards positive view of communism and communist China.
Well, they seem to be making some progress, unfortunately, but we see through their
Yeah.
spells.
Yeah.
California is like one of the worst as far as communism
Oh my
and
God.
China infiltration goes.
Yeah.
You mentioned something to me the other day about CalPERS. Now, people don't may not understand, but uh, a lot of states have these big pension funds, and
Right.
CalPERS is the California pension fund, and it's one of the largest pension
In
funds
the
in the
world.
world with
Yeah.
trillions of dollars. And you said he's one of the highest
Yeah.
paid.
So the guy running CalPERS right now, which I'll connect in a minute to something else, is the highest paid government employee in California. And he's tied to a Chinese espionage agency. His name is Meng, is his last name. No, that's his first name, Meng Yu. He's the former chief officer of the California Public Employees Retirement System. And he's making more than, or he was making, he's no longer, I believe that he's no longer there, but he's been linked to a Chinese espionage program and the CCP state agency for many, many years. And in 2019, in financial disclosures obtained by Transparent California, he made $1.7 million in total pay and benefits. And then under his leadership, the pension fund basically, which covers 2 million members in the retirement system, 1.5 million members under its health program, has been subject to federal inquiries because of its mass investments in Chinese government entities and Chinese programs. Meng, of course, comes from the Chinese Thousand Talents program, and he was recruited by the CIO of the Chinese State Administration of Foreign Exchange, a state-controlled entity. So FBI, considers, and Pompeo, the Thousand Talents program, Chinese non-traditional espionage agency against the United States. So this guy Meng has been running CalPERS and making investments into China through CalPERS, through these funds are teachers, policemen, people that work for the state. So this guy, Robert Fellner, who runs Transparent California, says that CalPERS is failing to conduct appropriate oversight by putting a Chinese, basically somebody who's connected totally to China and funding through this CalPERS fund Chinese companies that are a risk for America. So that's the first step in the Chinese infiltration. But then, the other thing that I found out is Rob, remember when we first got locked down and we were talking about Gavin Newsom ordered $1 billion worth of masks from
Oh, yes,
China
I do.
right after the China thing started. And I remember you and I thinking,
He
why
was
is he
so proud
ordering
of
masks
himself
from
getting these,
China?
right?
Yeah, he did like a press conference, but like, why was he ordering masks from China? Well, good news too, because also I talked about one time on Kirsten's show that that when that shipment came in, it also came in with a shipment that was seized of weapons and stuff. So I don't know if this is related, but I always thought that something was very bizarre about Gavin Newsom giving $1 billion to China right after we realized that China had spread the virus or was behind it in Wuhan. So anyway, the champions of justice at Judicial Watch have found out that they announced that they've received documents revealing that the contract for the materials and communications were related to the $1 billion face mask deal between California Office of Emergency Services and the Chinese Communist Party linked BYD. BYD is where he contracted for the masks for some reason. And they reportedly are barred by law from federal contracts because they provided faulty electric vehicles and lithium batteries to American buyers. So they've already been flagged to not have federal contracts. Yet Gavin Newsom and the CCP Chinese syndicate, they went for it anyway. And the Office of Emergency Service Assistant Chief Counsel admits that they deviated from normal procedure under the guise of it was an emergency because of COVID. So they went into contract with this BYD. But under this contract, these shady California politicians, decided that it was okay that it was BYD because they were going to call it under a different name, Global Healthcare Product Solutions, LLC. And BYD also in this contract for $1 billion provided no liability, no warranty for the masks if they were faulty. When you look at why they were already banned from having federal contracts because of faulty electric vehicles and lithium batteries, now you're seeing that they're hiding the company under a shell company, which is probably why the Treasury and Trump and them put in that order last week about foreign shell companies that they had to disclose their parent company, because this is a perfect example. So basically, the California governor Newsom and his Office of Emergency Services went into contract with the company that they knew was flagged by the government. They didn't seem to care. And if you look through the documents, they're so proud of themselves. And this woman says, this woman, the general counsel of the Emergency Services of California, Jennifer Bollinger, sent an email to Oscar Sue saying, who's the senior director of BYD America, saying our normal procurement process is deviated from because of exigent extreme situation coming from the COVID. So without any hesitation, it looks like Gavin Newsom signed a $1 billion deal with them. And then there's another email with Stella Liu, the president of BYD Motors, who sold us the faulty electric cars and batteries, that says we're gonna open champagne tomorrow on our conference call when they finalize the purchase of by California of $1 billion worth of BYD masks. Now here's the crazy part, Rob. So they're sending emails back and forth in this paperwork. BYD lead negotiators, so excited. Their counsel, this woman from California, Office of Emergency Services. This is very exciting, she's saying. We'll circle back today with signatures as soon as we can. BYD, it turns out, they weren't able to meet, surprise, surprise, the deadline of the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health certification for the N95 masks. So they had to return half of the money, apparently. The deadline was extended, it says, but it turns out in the end that the N95 masks that they were selling them for $3.30 a piece. Right, Rob?
I mean, that's criminal. You know what?
Right.
I actually just went online, and I mean,
Such a scam.
you can get them, you know, at Home Depot for like $2.20 to $3, you know, for a pack of 10 or 20. I mean,
Right.
when you're buying, you know, a 500,000 or 1 million masks, you know, you're going to get a massive discount. I mean, you should only be paying maybe 10% or 20% over the cost.
Right.
And
This deal
particularly,
was for 300 million N95 masks at a cost of $3.30 each.
that's unbelievable. And I would be interested to see what, you know, given that sounds like this deal was unwound, you know, how much of that money went to lawyers and contractors and, you know, and just kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Right. Well, and here's the craziest part also. Part of this contract was there's a provision now in contracts about sweat-free code of conduct, and that the seller guarantees that their materials are not produced in sweatshops, forced labor, convicted labor, indentured servitude, abusive forms of child labor, exploitation of children, unlawfully discriminated against employees. But as we know,
I mean, they're not going to tell the truth.
right.
They're,
So,
you
but
know,
that's in there. So as we know, because we saw a lot of footage during the COVID that they were packing up at these child labor camps and these forced labor, they were packing up they had footage of them packing up these masks. I don't know if they were these masks, but I'd find it very hard to believe that California Office of Emergency Services was overseeing this process, because later in the documents, it says that 495 million total down payment went before they even received any. And then according to the purchase order, Global Healthcare Product Solutions, the seller, is a subsidiary of BYD International Development based in Los Angeles, but their main headquarters is, their main ownership is the Chinese. And the company, BYD, used a fictitious name, a shell company, this Global Healthcare Product Solutions, which is it looks like a non-entity. And
Didn't you say it was a Delaware LLC?
well, yeah, that's what happened, which then leads me to is Hunter Biden involved in this? We'll get to him in a minute. But basically, the woman then Bollinger from California, the council, she says to in an email to the head of Global Healthcare Product Solutions that she understood the contract directly to be with BYD North America. And she was asking why they were using the name Global Healthcare Product Solutions. And the guy responded that they picked the name because they wanted folks to recognize it as a business that sold healthcare products, not to be conflated with their electric vehicle, clean energy, and battery business. Hello. so it's like a total crime. Where did all this money go? Why in God's name would this be necessary? Why are they getting it from China? And then at the same time, there's also information here that in these email exchanges that the physical count will be at the airport. This email saying the delivery of 3.4 million masks from BYD would be delivered to the airport and to the Office of Emergency Services. But it says the physical count will be at the airport, and upon movement into the warehouse for inventory and quality control, we will notify you if there is any deficiencies. We will only be checking 1% of the shipment due to volume for quality control.
Yeah, I think the important thing here is that people need to understand that a lot of these big contracting uh, gigs that our governments use and institutions use are
Money
ways to
laundering.
launder money.
Right.
Okay.
Totally.
So they have a lot of different companies and you overpay for things and then you get a kickback. You
Yeah.
use a certain lawyer, you use a certain distributor.
That's what these are showing, this BYD using a fake name, but it was very clear that Gavin Newsom and his office knew that they were pulling a fast one.
Well, this is the way that they make money. People need
Right.
to understand that the reason why Trump is so adamant about getting rid of a lot of this regulation, because these regulations add layer and layers and layers of obfuscation of the
Right.
truth. So you have all these
Exactly.
middlemen, you have people need to certify things, and everyone gets paid. And at the end of the day, no one knows what they're doing. Just like with these
Right.
bills,
Exactly.
you get a 6,000 page bill,
Right.
4 hours to read it. What are you signing on to? So we
Right.
need to simplify things. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, this
folks.
is money laundering straight up, just like Common Core books with the Pearson Publishing and the book deals. I mean, the same thing, just like the Paris Accords, just like the Iran deal. There's billions and millions and millions of dollars switching hands between foreign entities and foreign countries and our government officials. And then there's middlemen. And it's like you can't see where it's going. But in this case, with these masks, somebody's really got to look into that, because it's very clear just from the emails that I was looking at that they knew that they were not allowed to have a contract with this Chinese company. B, there was no oversight. C, they didn't even they didn't even check if they were faulty or anything. And more than that, where are they? What happened with this shipment? Where is this? Where is this money?
Yeah, kudos to one of the hardest working men in Washington, Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch.
I
He's been
know.
doing a hell of a job in a lot of different areas.
Yeah. It just you just keep pulling threads, because I can't believe we have another CCP story, but of course we do. So basically this is pretty crazy. So, Biden, Hunter Biden and his laptop that, was Russian information until after the election, then they admit that it's true and it's real. So on Biden's laptop, this, back to the CCP and the money laundering, people have been analyzing the laptop. I know that a lot of people have seen different pieces and parts here and there. And now it comes out that within a lot of these emails is a file. There's the woman, Jackie. I think that's how they pronounce her name, Jackie. She's the one that's in a lot of the that's in a couple of the sex videos and stuff with Hunter Biden on his laptop, but she also happens to be a Chinese spy for the CCP. Her name is Jackie Bao, Jackie Wang Bao, Wang Bao Jackie. She goes by many different names, but it's Yi Jiaming, US-based assistant advisor. So if you don't recall who that is, Yi Jiaming is the chairman of the Chinese Huaxin energy conglomerate, Hunter and Jim Biden's business partner, if you remember from Bobulinski, who I don't know where he is, but I'm sure he knows about this. Anyway, Yi Jinping and his US-based staff worked pretty closely with Chinese intelligence and controlled a large part, it turns out, of strategy, funding, and overseas operations for CEFC, which again is the company, energy company that Biden has a joint venture with through his Bohai Harvest RST. That's all being investigated now, and that's what the big case that they say that they're investigating Joe and Hunter and James Biden about. But the interesting part that you find in here is Jackie is one of those honeypots in that blue gold yellow that what's it called, the set the
Yeah, where
honeypot
where
where
they do
they seduce
they use
men. Yeah, it's
money,
like Fang Fang
sex, and
with
right,
Solwell. Yeah, so this
and
lady,
power.
yeah, and she's in some of the videos with him, so that's disturbing. Anyway, she was used to infiltrate into Hunter's life and get into the business engagement with him with CEFC, but she also became a sex partner with him. And she kept an eye on Hunter, and she was based in New York City, but she would visit him a lot. They talked a lot online. Well, it turns out that apparently she, through her intermediaries, was helping Hunter Biden and advising him and his father on how to beat Donald Trump in the election. So here we have foreign election again. This is a CCP operative. She is a well-known now spy, and she's interacted with Hunter quite a bit. She sent him more than one email telling him how to behave, telling him to ignore the media, don't focus on the nonsense, support your father. She gave him, through this XR Vision situational awareness and action intelligence plan, different advice, keeps pumping up his ego, telling him what to do, how to be, but she also gives talking points on how to go after Trump. She's saying to go after Trump because he lets his children, because he shows nepotism, giving his children jobs, even though they're amazing at it and they're qualified, giving his children top security clearance. She's giving him advice on, she calls Trump stupid. She talks about the book that exposed the Biden fraud, Peter Schweitzer's book. She's just going on and on about different ways to go after Trump in the media, in the public. She makes a list. She says she makes up that you can say that Trump is selling American citizenship cheaply to corrupt Chinese officials, which there's no evidence of that. He and his rich real estate friends, they do visa for rich immigration program. Rich legal immigrants abuse US welfare. She says go after Trump for easygoing with Chinese state-owned enterprise, ZTE, which is also will be connected to the Epstein case, but he's gone after them hard, so that's BS. She says Trump also let China go easy on human rights violations. No. And she says that also Trump is associated with the Chinese owner of the Florida prostitution parlor, which he's not even been connected to. But basically, this Chinese spy who works for, his Chinese business partners is going on in her emails to him about how to beat Trump, and praising Obama and praising Joe Biden, and really putting themselves in there. And she says the trade war with China has been a complete failure, resulting in tremendous loss to America. As of now, we have the highest trade deficit in 30 years. China has not changed a single thing on unfair business practices, intellectual property, that Trump's failed, and that Trump, that President Obama and his father, that they're good for China, and that Democrats, and that she's just going on and on, giving him advice and tactics.
What struck me about that, number one, is how much she was buttering him up and telling him,
How great he was.
obviously, he has some pretty nasty habits,
Mhm.
and she kept saying that how whatever he does on his own time is his own thing, and
Right.
and really
Keeping their sexual relationship going and separate. And then the next whole half of these emails is all about her giving him talking points and strategy points to help his father defeat Trump in the media.
So are these so are these, politicians and compromised, business people, are they stupid? Maybe. Are they
I
just in
think
it
they
for the
got away
money?
with it for so long that
Yeah,
it's
maybe they just
it's
become,
arrogance. It's
yeah,
arrogance. That's
yeah.
what I see when I see Joe Biden speak is and Obama. There's such arrogance. Like they, of course, they're going to get away with it. But as we know, they're a deep state. They've gotten away with it for all these years. And
Well,
I
I think
think,
that's coming to an end. We got an
yeah,
election that's going to prove it.
yeah. And these documents, I mean, seriously, I don't know if they're out there yet, really, but as I'm going through them on the Hunter laptop, I mean, it's clear the Chinese government was like in a full blown like influence, hands on, pushing Joe Biden over Trump and through many front companies, and that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and James Biden are CC'd on a lot of this stuff. And it's the CEFC, the same people that are in the Bodai harvest mess with the Chinese. And, he's also, Hunter Biden and James Biden are also involved in selling the ports and land and military companies through all different shell companies. So the CCP has infiltrated on every level our election. So I'm wondering, we never did hear about the DNI's report on foreign election interference, and the executive order on foreign election interference should be coming into play big time, right?
Yeah, I would expect so. I mean, you had mentioned, also the kind of the New World Order, UN
Right, interfering.
involvement.
Yeah. People don't even know. I didn't know that until I dug into something and I tripped upon it basically. But what I found out, and I've talked many times about the New World Order, the Great Reset, the One World Economic Forum, World Health Organization. Their plans are for depopulation and a nation states, and for America to cede our sovereignty and be one, the North American continent to be one nation state that's ruled over by the UN and the Chinese and their Great Reset and the banking cabal. They're all falling apart right now, but I did find it disturbing as well, because this again goes with the executive order of foreign interference. And I haven't really heard this talked about, but that scary Nazi guy that's running the World Economic Forum, who's like proud of being
Like Klaus something or
yeah,
other.
Klaus Schwab.
Yeah.
He's the one that wants to turn us all into slave robots and then just
He's the
get
one who dresses like in Khan from Star
yeah.
Trek.
Well, he goes to Bilderberg and Davos and talks about depopulation of the sheeple. But basically, the Great Reset is their goal. That seems to be the plan of why they even unleashed COVID. That's certainly why they want Joe Biden and the Democrats in office, because they're all globalist and owned. But I didn't know this. The World Economic Forum, we've seen the Great Reset talk a lot during COVID, and Joe Biden started using it, and Kamala Harris and the Democrats as their platform as well. Well, the Great Reset, which is the World Economic Forum founder, Klaus Schwab, he's said over and over that he's going to use the COVID crisis to push their hard left agenda that's climate change, sustainability, corporate governance, pushing LGBTQ, ending the family, taking over education, all of that. Now, he knows that, like you said earlier, that they can't have the Great Reset without America and the American people agreeing to it. So turns out that the World Economic Forum, which I believe is based in Switzerland, they sent,
Switzerland? No.
yeah, you can imagine that, right? All roads lead to Switzerland, crazy as it sounds. But listen, so it looks like the trustees, board members, they organize left-wing initiatives in America to drive voter turnout, mail-in ballot registration in the battleground states. This says that companies and organizations run by top World Economic Forum leaders have gone and worked with Democratic candidates with tens of millions of dollars in contributions. And they also have ties to and have given money to Dominion Voting Systems, Smartmatic. And basically, they started this group called the Global Shapers, the World Economic Forum's youth activism network. And they launched campaigns in key battleground states to target diverse voters. So the Global Shapers, run by the World Economic Forum, i.e. the UN One World Order, by Klaus Schwab, who wants to take our lives away and our land away and our country away and our freedom and our religions and everything we have away. He had put together a 12,000 volunteers and they have hubs all across the United States leading up to the election. And they were working on hyper progressive goals, but also pushing the idea of the Great Reset. And they poise themselves as a humanitarian, and they're into civic engagement. But actually, what they were doing was going out and registering voters and helping with the voter fraud. It actually says that the Munich branch of the World Economic Forum said that over 500,000 downloads and active users for an app-based project that the World Economic Forum created, seeking to increase turnout among European millennial voters in America. And the Global Shapers, they introduced this program called Shaping the Vote, a campaign that the Great Reset World Economic Forum came up with, I'm sure with the help of the Council of Foreign Relations and their other pals. And so they started a hub in Miami. They have a branch in Texas and a branch in Georgia. And basically, each volunteer is supposed to go out and sign up 5 new young voters and host hundreds of civics dinners across the country, voter education initiatives, engage new voters. There was a goal of 1,000 new young, diverse voting people. Also, they're in Wisconsin, where they ran increased mail-in ballot registration programs, all Wisconsin, pushing all Wisconsin residents who are eligible to vote. They also are in Madison and Milwaukee. They collaborated with grassroots organizations, civic leaders in both cities, and progressive organizations to create a voting web series for Wisconsin residents. These are the Global Shapers in Milwaukee. They started a whole tweeting campaign. They called themselves the Shapers. And so they set up in every one of the locations where there's massive cheating. And they were encouraging voters to mail in ballots and register by mail. And they were pushing it. And apparently they went into overdrive in September, October, November. And they pushed a lot of people with money backing by all these, the overlords that want the Great Reset. So they had a lot of money, and they did everything they could to help mail-in and absentee ballots overwhelmingly go for Democrats. And then they also infiltrated, apparently, they started something called Voto Latino, also from the World Economic Forum Global Shapers Maria Kumar, who apparently says that they have the largest U.S. voter outreach group targeting Hispanics. Kumar, who's formerly of Planned Parenthood Action Fund board member, is part of the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders Initiative, which was announced in Davos. And I believe she's a pal of Stacey Abrams. And she boasted that she was going to be the one that was going to help clinch the election for Biden. The group claims they registered 601,000 voters for the 2020 election cycle, with its investments of 33 million across critical states, helped lead critical margins towards the Democratic Party. She claims that the historic number of Latino votes is due to her work in Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia. Pennsylvania, she says, also played a key role. She's very proud of her influence and her work with the World Economic Forum global leader group. And she takes credit for Biden's Latino vote. And then it's so crazy. And then Voto Latino also spent 2.5 million in the Georgia runoff race that is going on as we speak.
I hear the machines broke down again, by the way. Yeah, oddly enough.
I know. Well, that's because it wasn't. You can't do a recount with the same. You can't do a revote with the same machines that we already know are highly corruptible. But hey, but anyway, she's talking about how she's investing heavily in Georgia for the runoff, and then she also the World Economic Forum. One of the trustees is Al Gore, and he also has been a vocal proponent of the Great Reset, and he says that it'll be this great thing, and he's starting also this climate reality project. So now the group found by Gore, funded by the World Economic Forum and the Global Shapers, apparently they got involved too. And Gore announced his group was called Vote Your Future, Vote Climate, But again, this is all backed by the World Economic Forum, a foreign entity that's a private foreign entity that shouldn't be involved in our elections. But so Al Gore sponsored this Climate Reality Project Action Fund, which also went around to drive voter registration, turnout, rally support for climate action in order to support Democrats in the 2020 election. So Al Gore's group that is connected to the World Economic Forum and the Global Shapers, they put offices and people on the ground in Texas, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Florida, and Nevada. And that's his Vote Your Future. So now we're talking about these global shapers from the UN, World Economic Forum, IMF, One World Order, elite billionaire class have infiltrated all of the states where there's contested elections and fraud. So, I mean,
I never really understood how these battleground states became these like uh, fervent, places where there was so much disagreement in the
right,
direction of our country.
right.
And
Well,
as
this is
we
how.
learn more and more, we're starting to see that. And if you look at a map, which is mostly red, and I don't view it as Democrat or Republican. This is
Mm,
clearly, good versus evil,
right,
and
I agree.
American values versus,
Right,
very un-American values. And so we're seeing how inorganic, how crafted and paid
right.
for this is, and how mind controlled a lot of these people are. Or maybe they're just paid, and they give them
Well,
jobs,
yeah. I mean,
like
people do,
Antifa.
well, money can change a lot,
Yeah,
especially for the target individuals that they can mind control. These people, they know what they're doing. But also, why is the World Economic Forum and the UN and Al Gore and this global shapers and IMF, why are they having anything to do with our election? This is not okay. We have an executive order that can be triggered, and I really wish that he would do it. I see he has no support, but he has support of the people, and right now that's going to have to matter the most, because a couple things, other things happen, which is Black Lives Matter raised the Somal took down the where George Floyd, the Minneapolis riots were. They took down the American flag and stamped on it and everything, and put up a Somali flag in Minneapolis, where the George Floyd protest riots took place. And then there were migrants on the Mexican border trying to run through the border and past border agents and yelling and screaming, and they were chanting Biden, Biden. And the border agents, thank God, because Trump has still is president, and he has remain in Mexico policy still stands, and that's for their safety, but it's the migrant protection program. Well, the border patrol was able to hold them back, but they're saying that they're being told in Guatemala, Honduras, Cuba, and all around South America that once Biden comes in, they're going to open our border again. And then what? Then what? But I will end that point on a good note. Is congratulations to President Trump. He hit another goal, which is he said he'd have 450 miles of border wall by the end of 2020, and he achieved that. So all this foreign interference and all these, we got to nip this in the bud. This cannot go on. And
but there's a lot of positive things that are going on, and I
oh
think
yeah,
the more that people understand the stakes of this game, the more committed they are
true.
to the path that needs to happen.
Yeah,
And that path might get pretty rocky, but there are a lot of paths to success. People need to understand that.
right,
um Navarro came out with his second
right,
Art of the Steal, showing people how the vote was stolen.
right,
Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin are their legislators are sending letters to the House and Senate that they want investigations.
right.
Um, Wisconsin may decertify on Thursday. We've the president has talked about that
Fingers crossed.
Pennsylvania does have the power to reject fraud. Kamala took back her seat.
Which I
There,
thought was strange, right?
yeah, right. But look, he didn't win. Trump is our
Well,
president. He will
I
continue
know.
to be our president, and we just have to continue to support him. We fully believe that all of this is a process of awakening, and so we need to go through this process. We don't
Yeah,
know how long it will take or
yeah.
how it will roll out because dates have
Well,
always been
it's
very
it's going to be
difficult.
rolling out soon, but there's
Yes.
so many different ways that it could go. But yes, Trump did win, and also don't forget that we still have Spygate out there. We still have Durham out there. That whistleblower Dennis Montgomery that created the hammer. He's very compelling when he talks about that this election was 100% stolen, and it was the cyber warfare attack was committed by people in our own government, CIA, but also China, Russia, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan. This guy created the hammer. He knows what's going on, and he's under one of those state secret protective things. But Donald Trump can authorize to have anything that he has. Dennis Montgomery has said, and all of the evidence released, which I need him. I need him. I need him to declassify, because that's a whole nother level. That brings in Obama into the cheating, Brennan, Clapper, spying on the American people. But it really, he has a lot of testimony to give about how foreign adversaries stole the 2020 election from the American people, not from President Trump. This is our country. President Trump represents us. But he has so much evidence, this guy, and he's such a hero. But under Obama and Biden, whistleblowers were punished, and like General Flynn, like this guy Montgomery, and many we saw. And I'd love for him to release the state secrets, which he can do, and let him out of whatever's holding Montgomery back. He's been shamed and lied about, just like everyone, Benny, everyone that's come out, every whistleblower that's come out to try to help the country and we the people. If they were against the Obama-Biden administration, they have some kind of protection that needs to be taken away. Enough's enough. Because if the UK and China also have the Hammer program that this guy Montgomery created, and Brennan and Clapper and Comey were the ones who could use it, then they're all involved in the stealing of the election too. So, there's so much that needs to come out, and I'm really hoping for some nice declass, because I want to hear some of these heroes behind the scenes. There's also that John here to help, and there's a bunch of people out there that we don't even hear from yet, but that can add to this, and they're being silenced. And I don't know why the D class is taking so hard, because once even this guy that can just talk about the hammer and then the scorecard, the SolarWinds hack, this guy knows so much, and he's one of a bunch of people that really can put some clarity out there. So let's hope for D class. I'm hoping for it tomorrow.
Well,
Tomorrow, but
we've been told that there's a
you
lot of
can't give dates.
information that's going to be coming out tomorrow. We
Right.
don't know what it's going to be, and also we may have some special guests. We don't know what that's going to look like, but it does take a long time to digest this information. You have to hear it over and over again,
Just
and
shocking.
it's complicated. So we need our fellow Americans to see what's going on. Our president is not acting like he's leaving anytime soon, and we know he's
No,
not.
nor is Pompeo. Their actions aren't showing that. And then the Iran is threatening him. I mean, it's all just, we're watching a show at this point. I'm ready for some D class. I want some truth. I want some justice. The more I read about these whistleblowers that are still kept silent, why? During Obama's administration, or even during the impeachment or whatever, it was like every day there was somebody new, telling us stuff from the other side. But nobody that's been fighting for Trump or for us or for America, it seems like they're allowed to say anything. Even General Flynn couldn't until recently. So
Well, but people are they're being unleashed, right?
right,
And
I know. And it
I
looks like Assange, God willing, I know he's not going to be extradited, thank God. I strongly pray and hope, since I don't believe he committed a crime at all, that not only are the charges dropped by the new DOJ, but that he gets a pardon, because to me, Assange this whole time has been a total hero. So that's good news that he's not going to be extradited to our swamp creature, DOJ, and maybe the people at the top will actually do the right thing and drop those charges, so we won't even need a pardon. But
It was nice to see that Nunez and Jordan were
I know,
recognized for their, quite
yeah.
heroic and kind of lone wolf
Nunes
actions
for
to,
sure. I
yeah.
mean, he's the one that actually everyone, those guys are heroes at great personal risk. I don't think people realize. Last night Josh Halley, who's a real champ, he got attacked. He wasn't home, and his wife and his newborn baby were attacked by Antifa at their own home. And then and then the Washington Post lied about it and said that they were peaceful. Um, you know, it's just like when Rand Paul got attacked, or when all the Republicans got shot, and Steve Scalise and everyone, and then they turn around and say it's the Republicans that are violent, and that's not true. So I'm really glad that Jim Jordan and Nunez got recognized for their bravery and got medals for it, because they deserve it.
Yeah, well, we're going to see millions of patriots. I mean, I saw in the news today and some of the video that the people were rolling in strong. They're
And
telling people that the city's closed, but
it's
patriots are
not.
pushing through.
Yeah.
There's going to be a massive, massive show of unity and love and strength,
Right.
millions, I believe, and we're really excited to just
Yeah.
see all of this go down and report it to you. And to get your feedback and just keep pushing forward, because we're going to get through this and we're going to get it
Yeah.
done.
Every day we get closer, and every day I just say D-class, D-class, D-class. So anyway, thank you guys. We just wanted to pop in. Tomorrow's the big rally, and we'll come to you tomorrow, talk about that. There's a lot of information. Please do your own research. We have a new website, the Mel K Show. I'm going to start posting there every day, links to the stories I talk about on here, and have a more interactive forum. I'm figuring it out, but we should be launched, up and running in the next couple of days. So I'll start posting these there too. And please subscribe and follow the Mel K Show. We have some good stuff up there from other channels that I've been working with, and we're going to start having some good guests on. So I really appreciate the following, the interacting. The website's going to be up and really cool soon, and we're going to be on Gab TV too. And I am Impulsive Woman on Twitter. Please follow me. And Roberta, where can they find you?
I'm Rob Really One on Twitter. And remember to sign up on that website or subscribe, and BitChute. We're
Yes.
growing that quickly, and we're really excited about the
Yeah.
platform, but you never know. So we're going to need multiple platforms, and we want to keep growing. So,
Yeah.
we love all your support, and we really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Patriots.
And I'm going to go back and redo my deep dives that got purged from YouTube as well. So we're going to add some new content, and I appreciate all the comments. It's really a passion project at this point. I just believe God wins, and that we are fighting good versus evil, and we will prevail. And let's move forward to the American Revolution 2.0 starting tomorrow in DC.
Let's do it,
Okay, guys.
Patriots. Have a
Good
great
night.
night.
Thank you.